here providing a demonstration of how I set up my Scrivener projects when they have to be compiled to Word, and the Word version needs to have some precise or complicated styling requirements. You will see on my screen I have two windows open. The first is a Scrivener project in the front called Trial Brief Test. Behind it is a Microsoft Word template called Delaware Chancery Brief Template. You will see in the template that I have the some styles identified in the body of the document and some text demonstrating what those headings are. So this document is set up to have styles that have been defined to meet the requirements of the Delaware Chancery Court rules so that briefs will comply with those rules. Many of the styles in this document are normal Word style titles that have just been redefined to match my rules. So you'll see I have a body text style, a block quotation style, body flush that removes the indent for the first paragraph after the block quotation, assuming it's not a new paragraph. Then a series of headings, some text for what my footnotes will look like, and then one style that's of no particular importance other than I wanted to demonstrate for you something that you can do is I created this special style called image box with space after right here at the bottom. And the point of that for me is I sometimes include screenshots in my briefs, and those screenshots when they are compiled into Word sometimes don't have the spacing right, and then I was fiddling around with the vertical spacing to make sure that the text after the image looked right. So I discovered this process of creating just a special format or a style format that has line spacing and paragraph spacing the way that I want, that ends up pulling the images in so they look like they're set the right ways. So you can create in your documents specialized styles that you wouldn't use for main text, but to create certain features that you need to create so that things appear correctly and are styled correctly, laid out correctly for your printing. So let's go over to the document itself. As you can see, we have a brief here. This particular document has been fictionalized, but this was a real brief that was filed in Chancery using the very method that I'm showing you right here. So let's go to our post-trial brief. We'll put this in Scrivenings mode so you can see all the text. So from Microsoft Word, you saw how the template was set up. Now the step that we have to take in Scrivener is to set up the styles so that they match. So I'm going to click into my text box. As you see, the styles menu has opened up, and I'm going to select the styles panel. What you will notice in the styles panel is the styles match what we have in Microsoft Word. You will see body text, body flush, block quote, heading 1, you'll see that special style image box with space after. One of the really useful features is, as you might notice, the styles as defined in Scrivener don't match exactly what the styles look like in Microsoft Word. That's powerful because you can set your styles in Scrivener in your editor window so that they look however you want. You could put highlight boxes around certain styles if that helps you in your editing, but once you compile, they won't. The Microsoft Word template styles will override those choices. So you can have something that looks a certain way that's helpful for editing, but on the printed published page, it looks the way that it's supposed to. So you can feel free to define these whatever you want. Make it green, highlight it. I'm supposed I've belabored that point. Let's move on. Let's do a sample compile, see what this looks like. We'll open up our compiler, and you will notice on the leftmost column, in my project formats, I have a format called Brief Delaware Chancery. That's selected. I'm going to compile, as you see at the top, for Microsoft Word, and then I have my group of text files and folders and front and back matter selected. I'll press the compile button, and we will run our export. Voila! We have the document pulled up that looks correct. to the eye at first, but there's still a step that we need to do. Take a look at this outline mode. If you look in the sidebar, you'll see the heading sections, but you'll notice in my Microsoft Word template, there are outline numbering is selected. But in the Word doc, that's not there. That's because there's still one more step. When Scrivener exports the document, compiles the document, it uses a Microsoft Word normal template. We're not using a normal template for this. We're using the Delaware Chancery template. So I need to associate these things together, and we do that very simply. In Word for the Mac, we select the Format menu option, then select Style. Excuse me. And then once the Style dialog box opens up, we'll select Organizer, and you will see two columns. A left column that says In Trial Brief Test, and the right column in normal.dotm. The left column shows all the styles that are in our existing document. The right column show all the templates that are in all the styles that are in the normal template, which is the template that's associated with our document. We want to close that template out and open a new template. So we'll go to our template menu here and then select Delaware Chancery Brief, open that, and all the templates, all the styles from the Delaware Chancery Brief template appear in the the right column now. I will copy those over, select yes to all, and these will now replace the styles in my document. I can close this, and magically you will see the heading sections appear just like they're supposed to, and that's it. The bulk of our work is done. There is sometimes additional work that needs to be done if you have internal cross-references or things like that, but everything looks the way that it should for my filing purposes. My footnotes look correct, the text looks correct, the styles look correct, the way the images are embedded look correct, the spacing looks correct, all of that's right. The block quotations came out right. It looks like it's supposed to. So let's take a look at how this gets set up from a compile standpoint so you can see some of the other things that need to be done in your setup. So we'll move back to the project, we'll click our compile, and then we'll take a look at the format for this brief. As you notice in the section layouts, we have the section headings that I use and the section types that I use for the structured layout methodology. But before we look at those, take a look at the styles option. And you'll notice that the styles that are available to us in the editor have been brought into the format. So you just click the plus button here, bring in the styles that you're using. I could have brought them all in, but these are the only ones that are active in the document right now, as you can see, or that we're using in the compile setting itself. So those are all pulled in there, and now I have access to them. So in the section layouts, let's take a heading 3, for example. You'll see that we're using the title of the folder or text, and we're including the text itself in compile. So within the format selector box at the bottom of the dialog, you'll see section title, and you will see that it's set to heading 3. When this compiles to Microsoft Word, it will have the name heading 3. That's the magic that associates these things together so that when I pull in the new template into Microsoft Word, it will replace this definition of heading 3 with the template's definition of heading 3. This is just set up as body text because that's what we use for the main form of the document. Now, for those of you who are deep into Scrivener, as you know, you can do very complicated things with your compile settings, much more complicated than what you see here. But this just shows the ease that you have of compiling and making a document end up in Microsoft Word that is usable without too much fiddling and messing around in the document once it's done. You have a workable Microsoft Word document just with this little method like that. So I use this all the time. It may seem like, oh boy, there's a lot of steps for that. And it's true, there are a number of steps that you have to do to get this right. They're not hard steps to follow. It just takes some time. So the advantage of going through those steps is if you have to do something a lot, like for me, filing briefs in the state of California or federal courts, Delaware courts, wherever we might be, having these set up are great because I use this every day, and it automates a great deal of work, and it enables me to use the full power of Scrivener to edit complicated documents in, you know, using all of the regular tools and power that you have available to Scrivener, exporting to Word and making it as if there's no, it's a seamless process. So it works very well. There's also a method that I use to bring in redline comments when people have those. That works pretty well, and I'm able to capture red lines and things like that. Maybe I'll show that in another video. But that's my method. If anybody has questions, wants to see how this is done more specifically, or wants some additional information, please direct message me in the MPU forums, or comment on the post where this is posted, and I'm happy to help out as best I can, because this is a great tool, and setting it up the way that you need it to do your work for you will save you hours and hours of work, and enable you to use a tool that you really love without having to pull your hair out. So hope it's helpful.